Hello, welcome to Excel Strategies YouTube channel. We're going to solve ModelOff data analysis problem using Microsoft Excel pivot tables. Those of you who do not know, ModelOff is a very challenging annual competition that tests your financial modeling skills. This data analysis problem first appeared on 2013 ModelOff. Participants were given only 20 minutes to come up with their answers. We're working as a business analyst at a leading hardware retailer, and we were asked to analyze recent sales data from one of our locations. The data covers the first 6 months of 2013 and has a line for each different item type sold on each invoice. One or more lines may be associated with a single invoice. Note that each line also has a quantity field that represents the quantity of that particular item type sold on that invoice. Each invoice is associated with one manager on duty and one sales assistant. The recommended approach is to utilize Excel pivot tables. It might also be helpful to add extra calculation columns. To get started, let's visit ModelOff website, navigate to the Past Questions section, find the data analysis problem, download the sample Excel workbook, Once we open the newly downloaded file, let's take a moment to get familiar with the data structure present. First of all, notice that we have the ticket price per unit column, we have the discount given, sales price per unit, and cost per unit. And while we do know what the quantity of items sold, we do not know the subtotals for ticket price, discount, total sales, total cost. Those are probably going to have to be calculated to answer the questions that follow. In addition, for invoice number 10, we have 3 records present, so the listing is not unique. And as per problem description, the reason why we have these 3 records present is the fact that we sold 3 different items on this invoice. We sold item number 45, 26, and 29. Let us see if we can answer the very first question. Over the entire analysis period, what was the quantity of item 10 sold while John Jones was the manager on duty? Select the closest answer. We need to create a new pivot table to answer this question. Let's go to the Insert menu, select Pivot Table, make sure that the data range is reflective of all of our data, and let's go with the New Worksheet option to insert our data into a separate worksheet. Let's just click OK. And now we're ready to set up our fields for the pivot table. First of all, we know that the question asks us specifically for the unit sold for item 10. So let's select the item code field and let's put it into the filters area. Let's also select manager on duty and put that into the filters section as well. Next thing that we need to do, we need to select the quantity field. Excel automatically performs this calculation. It sums the quantity. So for the item code, let's select item code 10. For manager on duty, let's select John Jones. If you're like me, you might not be overly happy with the sum of quantity being your field name, so let's change it. Let's get rid of the sum of prefix. Let's hit enter, and we get an error message telling us that the quantity field name already exists. Let's hit OK, and let's change this name to quantity and add a blank space at the end by hitting spacebar, hit enter again, and now we have a more presentable pivot table. The next question asks us to identify 3 highest selling items by quantity. So first, let's get rid of the fields currently present. Let's select a field, in this case quantity, right mouse click, and select to remove it, remove quantity. Similarly, let's remove item code as well as manager and duty. We're now back to the blank pivot table and we're ready to answer this question. Let's select the item code field. Notice since this field appears to be of a number format, Excel puts it into the value section. We know that it's a text field, therefore we need to move it back to the rows section. Then we need to select the quantity field, and let's just rename these fields for the sake of presentation. So the row labels becomes item code field, and the quantity is going to replace sum of quantity. Let's not forget about extra spaces. We can now sort our pivot table in descending order and identify our highest selling items as 17, 40, and 8, which gives us answer A. To improve the presentation though, let's try to filter instead. Let's select the item filter. Let's go to the value filters. Let's select top 10. Replace 10 with 3 items by quantity, click OK. And now instead of looking at the long list of 100 of items, we're only looking at the 3 highest selling items. The next question asks us which salesperson sold the highest cumulative quantity of a single item and which item was it. Let's select our item code field, put into the row section. Let's select our salesperson field. Let's put the quantity field into the values section, and let's reformat our pivot table. We need to change the design. We need to change the report layout to show in tabular form. We need to get rid of our subtotals. And perhaps we can change our field name as well. So now, instead of sorting this data, we can simply use the top 10 feature to filter our best-selling item. So let's go to the item code filter. Let's select value filters, go to top 10, and just show top 1 items by quantity. Looking at the data present, we can see that Kelly sold the highest number of units, 643, for item code 17, and the answer to this question is A. The next question asks us what was the salesperson's Wendell's total sales over the analysis period. Select the closest answer. To answer this problem, we know that there is no such a thing as the sales field present, so we have to add this calculation to our data set. Let's go back to the data and let's insert a column next to the sales price per unit perhaps. So right mouse click, select insert, call this field or column sales, And to make the calculations necessary, we just have to multiply sales price per unit by number of units sold, or quantity, from that, and then copy all the way down. Going back to the pivot table, we just need to refresh it. And after we refresh this pivot table, we can see the additional sales column being added. So let's remove our field names. Let's select the salesperson field and place it into the filter section. Filter for Wendell. Click OK. And then select the newly created sales field. Let's format. As a currency. So the answer is $316,760, which is closest to 300,000. The answer is C. Stay tuned for our upcoming videos and keep in touch on social media.